Welcome to Kickstarter Radio 102.4, and I'm your host, Lipstickpaddy. This is a special look at the board games worldwide predictions and statistics. Now, I've been saying for a while that it looks like the golden age of board games is coming to an end, if not at the end. And my definition of that was, if I give you $1,000, could you go on crowdfunding right now and spend it? No, you couldn't. No, sorry. But you could go on late pledge. You could definitely go on late pledge and spend it. In fact, I had a I played a game on my channel recently, which was to go on the late pledges on GameFound and see if you can spend $1,000 and tell me what games you picked. I showed you the games I picked, and I also played a second game where you had $1,000 and could only pick you could only pick a game on its minimum pledge, and you could only go on the minimum pledge if you would actually get it, because sometimes there's a playmat or an expansion that you really want, so you wouldn't sell. You couldn't compromise and get the minimum pledge, so that's a really good game as well. That one was tougher of the two to play for me. The first one was go all in. Anyway, so if you want to play this game, that's pretty good. So if late pledges were the golden ages at the minute, then maybe we're in the tail of the golden age, but we're not there yet. But according to this Board Games Worldwide statistics, if you look at this projection, they've got board game industry is growing. In fact, from 2022, let's go 2022, they have got it doubling in 2009. So is the board game industry going to double? Holy smoke. Well, they had a close eye on Gen Con, nothing really sprung interest. Just did my Essen video, which was yesterday's video, and you can check that out because some actually did pique my interest and I did get a shortlist from it. So, yeah, because in 2023 I didn't have any retail shortlist to pick from, unfortunately, in 2023. I did in 2022 and 2021 and 2020, but it looks like the retail games are just not competing with my own collection of board games. That's what's happening to me. But the question is, where's all the new board gamers coming from? Because if a new board gamer comes in and they're starting their collection, maybe it's not unusual for them to get 10 games in 1 year, and I'd say that the average board game collector slows down as they approach 100 games, is probably what the average is. Let me know how you started your collection. Were you at 10 games in your first year? And when did you start slowing down? For me, it was certainly when I ran out of space. I've not actually done a count. Actually, I think it's getting up there about 100. Anyway, so I'm thinking most people that buy board games are 30 or over. Are there really any young people buying crowdfunding games or retails? When I say retail games, I'm saying they're going online to like Miniature Market, or they're going to Gen Con, or they are lucky enough to have a local game store where they are. Because I know most people you ask about board games, they just assume Monopoly, chess, Cluedo, those types of games. They've no idea what modern board games are. They've no idea what a designer board game is, and they've no idea what a crowdfunding board game is. They're the kind of tiers of excellence. So, because for me, the rise in popularity of board gaming came because the video game industry had such a long, the time games came out has been getting longer and longer, and it's averaging one a game can take 5 years on average right now. So these gamers that usually had a budget of, say, $500 in a year, they just couldn't spend it on video games because the games weren't coming out, and they turned to the hobby of board games, especially when influencers of computer games themselves were talking about board games. I can remember the first time a board game was mentioned on a computer game stream from Total Biscuit, where he was talking about having Potion explosion, which got a lot of video game people into board games, and then a lot of board gamers then were talking again about Kingdom Death Monster or Blood Rage. These kind of games were spoken about, I'm talking maybe 10 years ago. But I think the trend of gamers now, we've got Microsoft Game Pass, so you've got all these games that you don't need to pay for, that you can just try out and play. We've got World of Warcraft, that's absolutely incredible where that is now, and Final Fantasy XIV, where that is right now. We've got Elder Scrolls Online, which is now free to play, excellent. We've got Star Wars The Old Republic, excellent. And you've got your gluttony of pay-to-win Eastern MMOs. So basically, there's lots on the market, and the indie market in video games has got back on. So I think video games has come back into its fruition again, and the middleware, which was basically not there 10 years ago in video games, they kind of disappeared, has come back again now. And so the indie middleware is kind of where it is, and all that good stuff. So what I'm trying to say, TLDR, is a lot of gamers might still have a budget, but they have more games to play than normal because of what's out there, especially certainly Game Pass. If you've got Microsoft Game Pass, you just mind will blow how many titles you can try out. It's unbelievable. Anyway, so I think gamers are going to grow because of Game Pass, the availability of buying a console or a PC and being able to just buy a subscription and get access to loads of games is spectacular. Because for me, World of Warcraft is coming out, the expansion, next week, and the subscription of World of Warcraft is the same as Game Pass, so I'm either playing a game on Game Pass or I switch to World of Warcraft and my subscription goes from one to the other. And so if I was a normal dude, normal gamer, maybe I'm not looking at board games because I'm so happy playing video games. So where are these new gamers coming from? This is what I'm asking. Because the people that I play board game, my board game group, they don't buy board games at all. Are you kidding me? I'm the only sucker that's paying the excessive import fees to Mexico. We pay sometimes more import fees on a board game than you would if you brought an electrical item in. How's that? I really need to write a letter to the Mexican government. They're going to love that. By the way. Anyhow, the local governor, there's an election here. There's going to be a new governor. I think I've got to go via him or her, haven't I? Is that the route in these republics? Anyway. So where's the gaming growth coming from? Because board game cafes opened up and they've died. Some of them are still around, some of them are growing, but where are these coming from? I'm seeing less and less spectacular stuff on crowdfunding. Although the most ambitious game I've ever seen since I did this channel, which I covered at the weekend, you can check it on the channel right about now, which is called... I'm always forgetting. My brain, when I do this, I'm off the cuff. Game of Stories or something it's called. You can check it out. It's called my most tentative title of Q4 2024. That game's been in development for at least 8 to 5 years. You know what I mean? This is like an outlier. They come out every decade. It's a bit like my favourite game, Fallen Land. That was 13 years in development. So these mega games that are just spectacular and ambitious, they really don't come out every year. So there's going to be this lull of innovation and lull of greatness. For example, Eurogame coming out that has no graphics at all, not going to sell. Game coming out with components like meeples that aren't screen printed, not going to sell. There is this new expectation that games need to look at least decent because everybody that's getting into the hobby is playing was brought into the hobby by other gamers, and those other gamers, most likely in the last 5 years, are playing a crowdfunding game with them that's probably got metal coins, sleeved up, looking sexy, with super components, and that is what the standard is going forward. So I think the retail space is going to drop. Crowdfunding will probably stay the same, but where are all these people coming from? So for me, this average, where are they getting this from? I don't know. It says here, in-app purchases of board games. An in-app purchase. Like, I've got Mansions of Madness that has an app, and you can pay for an extra mission, an extra, is that what it is? Is it mission or quest? There's 2 of them that you can buy, I think, on the app for Mansions of Madness. What other app games have things you can buy, or is this? Yeah, because the digital board games is in its own category, isn't it? Digital board games. They're talking about an in-app purchase revenue in a board game market, so isn't there not that many? I don't know where they're getting that from. That's pie in the sky for me. Paid app revenue in the board games market. A paid app. I think they are talking about digital apps, aren't they? But even so, if you've got a digital app, let's say you've got Gloomhaven, is there in-app purchases to be had in these? If you've got Ticket to Ride, is Ticket to Ride actually a digital game? Talisman's a digital game. Can you buy apps for it? I don't know. But they're saying that potentially the digital board game market that's the thing that could be growing. Well, for me, I will never play a digital board game. If it has a board game, I will get it in my collection to play it. If I use my computer, I've got World of Warcraft or another AAA game or some game that's got my interest for that time. And I know during COVID it might have been better to do peer-to-peer, computer-to-computer across the country or whatever, across the world to play with people with board games, but that's niche in itself, right? So I don't believe this at all. So is this alone just estimated to be board game digital stuff? Is that where the rise they think it is? Because if this is true, then all ye developers that are talking should really get your game on the digital market, right? Totally. I think that's what they're trying to say. Get your game on the digital market and you will make mint, is what they're saying. So the average revenue per download currently is expected to be about 60 cents, and they still reckon that it's going to be this big, the money. Wow. Because for me, when a board game goes on digital, it's the end of that game, isn't it, really? I don't know. It's just weird that it does that. I mean, a lot of these board games are inaccessible. You just can't buy them anymore, right? If you come into the hobby, you just can't buy these games. I mean, look at your shelf. How many games on your shelf are just not on the market? I mean, the games I spoke about from the YouTubers, like Potion Explosion, can you still get that game? Blood Rage, can you get that game? Kingdom Death Monster, you could probably in a queue if you want to get that game, and it's going to be very expensive. So we'll just see. I don't know. If I see any growth, it's going to be in the role-playing games, as we're getting more games that are bringing role-play to the tabletop, and that will evolve into a role-playing thing, right? Because keeping role-play books on your shelf is much better than keeping board games on a shelf for space. And certainly across all your minis, if you paint your minis and put them in a display case, then you've got your own beast area of miniatures that you can put out into a role-playing game that you pick up. That's kind of my route. I know finally when my collection's finished and I'm not looking at games anymore, I'll start picking up D&D books, and knowing across all my miniature games that I probably have miniature representations for all of the D&D beast book, right? Probably don't have the chest. You know, when you open a chest and it's a monster coming out of it. I don't think I've got that. So yeah, what do you think? I'd love to know what your thoughts down here. Do you think this is bonkers? Do you play digital board games? Are you like me? I'll never play them. What do you think then? Kickstarter or retail? Are they all adding to this? I don't know. But it is kind of interesting, isn't it? How they do this. And I'm guessing, which games do you have that you think would be good to go digital to kind of promote the IP of the game, because it could be very niche. I think Fallen Land, my favourite game, would do well digital. I think Everdell would be okay digital. Just looking here now. I think Eldorado would be a good digital game. Wasteland Express, you would also be good. Space, you would be good. Whistle Mountain would be fantastic. Circadian's First Light, you'd be fantastic. Destiny's Arceus easily could become a tabletop video game. Museum, completely out of print, company's gone bust. That could definitely become... So there's lots of potential for all these games just to go digital. 100%. But I've got to ask you, peeps, if they all go digital... Let's say all of them that I've just said went digital. How's that getting into the video game industry press? Because at the end of the day, a board game to a video gamer is very limited, right? Because you can play a game for 3 hours and you've probably got your fill. Whereas you play a video game and you could be playing it for 12 hours. So, you know, there's this kind of thing. And a lot of video gamers are soloists, so I think a lot of these games could be solo. I think Hexplore It as well would be great if it went to a digital thingy-majiggy-wiggy. So potentially all this growth is digital. It's all going the way of digital. And, you know, potentially if there's a war in China and these games can't get made in China, then I guess all these board gamers that want to buy new board games but they can't because production is too expensive, then maybe board game digital will be the only landscape to get realistically play new games. Maybe that's factored in here. It's definitely an interesting topic, isn't it, to look at this prediction and see where it's coming from, because it's pretty. It's like what would you call this growth that they're predicting? It's not exponential, it's not steady, but it's projection. It's a very good projection, isn't it? It's like 35 degrees or something. It's a good projection. Alright, there you go, peeps. Oh, I was going to close it then, and I'm coming down here. I'll do these quick because there's these charts. There's not many of them. They believe that the paid app for the game The grey bit's like right at the bottom, isn't it? So you're paying, it's, I don't know, what the hell's that about? Advertising is going to be a big chunk of this growth, and in-app purchases of board games is where they think it will go, like expanding. That is pie in the sky, isn't it? They've already got this data from years before, though. It's really strange. These board games are on Apple and Google. There's a massive push on Google for board game stuff. So if you're developing your board game, you want to at least make sure it's on Apple. That's where the junk of the market is. And of course, downloads need to be super cheap, according to this market. Average consumer will end up downloading 9 downloads. How are they supposed to predict that? And it looks like the only country doing this stuff is the United States and Canada. Come on, let's get to the prediction. So they believe that China might also add to this. There's Mexico. That's me there. Mexico. Europe. All right. The methodology. Yeah, they're not telling you. And they're not, all this stuff is not really helping, isn't it? It's basically wild prediction. And coming from my limited experience in video games and board gaming, video games is a good 30 years and board gaming is a good maybe 10 years. I think that this is pie in the sky. Well, let me know your views down below. I'll leave the link of this down below in the comments. And if you're interested about any upcoming games coming out this year, then I've got my top 3 games that are coming out Q4 this year on crowdfunding that are just insane. I've got my most anticipated, most innovative, or it's actually called most polished. The other one is most tentative. You can check that on the channel right about now. And I've also got an Essen preview for 2024. Look, actually some incredible games on that list you can check out right about now too. So thank you so much for watching. Please give the video a like and think about subscribing if you like the content that you see on the channel. Go and have a look. I've been your host, Lipstickpaddy. This is Kickstarter Radio 102x4. You take care, stay safe, and bye-bye for now.